And a very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. It is Ohio State weekend, and we will certainly talk plenty about that. But, Goon, I cannot contain my excitement.
Go ahead.
Reading between the lines, and admittedly, I'm reading between the lines a little bit last night, but after the World Series concludes, Dodgers, by the way, if you weren't paying attention, rally from 5 runs down to take Game 5, 7-6, and they win the World Series 4-1. And shockingly, somehow they gave Freddie Freeman, I don't know if you saw this, they gave him the MVP.
Very odd.
Oh, yeah, look at me. I hit 4 home runs in 4 games and then had the key RBI hit in the clinching Game 5.
Whatever,
I mean,
dude.
give me a break. Jeez. What an amazing story.
It's not about you, Freddie. It's not about you.
What an amazing story that guy is. More on that in a moment. But after the game, they're in the locker rooms, and Juan Soto, I mean, is it just me or reading between the lines? Like, he's heading to Pittsburgh, right? He's going to be a Pirate next year. Because highest bidder, the Pirates said they want to be contenders, right? I mean, so I'm super pumped, Goon. Juan Soto in a Pirates uniform next year could be a difference maker for the Battling Bucks. What say you?
I couldn't dislike the guy anymore, but I guess I would have to if he was in a Buccos jersey, personally. All right. I don't like the fact that he's talking that, I'm wide open for this contract, talking this and that. Just shut your mouth saying, hey, we just lost the World Series, you know?
Does give you a glimpse as to maybe, and listen, he had a good World Series, so it's not like you can pin it
I'm not a fan
on him.
Now,
but no,
I have
with
to say this. I was also not a fan of number 3 for the Phillies when he was playing for the Washington Nationals and Mr. Bryce Harper, and then he starts playing for your team, and then you're like, oh, well, you know what? I could see past a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, we could overlook all of that.
I could overlook him,
Absolutely.
but I don't know how he does not get thrown at more, the way he, if the ball, and he steps at the pitcher and stares the pitcher down. I don't know what that is. I really don't, and that's what drives me crazy about him. Other than that, an unbelievable ball player. Like, one of the best ball players we'll see in our lifetime type of player. And he's going to be paid like that very soon as a 26-year-old. They think about this. Remember $200 million for A-Rod about 20 years ago? We're at now $600 million for a contract now. Harper went to 300, then Shotani went to $7 billion, all deferred until I don't know when he's going to get that money, but just crazy numbers going on right now. But he will go down in our lifetime as one of the best players we'll ever see. In my opinion, I think he already is. He already is there.
Yeah.
So.
Freddie Freeman, though, steals the show.
Yes.
What an amazing story with his son, the 3-year-old, paralyzed earlier in the year, doing much better with the comeback with his disease, but then Freddie's own injury. And listen, I'm not a big fan of either of these teams or organizations. I do think it's almost impossible. I would say it is impossible to not like Freddie Freeman. Like, there's just certain guys, it's like no matter what team they're playing for, it's like, well, my God, that's a great human being.
It did hurt me to see Freddie when he was a Brave and just destroying the Phillies on the reg.
Yeah,
he still was I still cheered for him because it was like you just had to. One, you have to look at the swing and just say that is a pure baseball swing as I've ever seen. Just long, loping, boom.
Yeah,
just raking the field. He was just an unbelievable player. And then what's weird to me is he's not really a home run hitter. So, Bucky Greeley lives down in the South. He lives in Charlotte, so he gets all the Braves game. But he is in the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame as a baseball player also, by the way, so you know that. But he always talked about Freddie, how his swing, and then he was in a home run derby. And I said, why is Freddie Freeman in a home run derby? His swing does not, it doesn't elevate. You know what I mean? He just hits line drives. And he struggled in that home run derby, which was odd that he goes four out of 5 games in this World Series. And then 2, the last time he was in the World Series, 2 games. He homered what, 5 or 6 straight games for a new World Series record.
It's absolutely crazy
to even think about it. Did Reggie hit 3 in a game?
Yes.
In a World Series game?
Yes.
Yes. I believe that was 77 or 78, and that was so we had 2 dogs.
Off 3 different pitchers, too, which was
a little unheard of at that point, too.
Wild. Yeah.
So think now, Reggie, we had a dog at home. 2 dogs at home we picked out of the pound. We named them Thurman Munson and Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
After the 78 World Series.
There you go.
And then,
so, all right, let's turn our attention to Penn State.
What's that?
Ohio State, Saturday. It is interesting. Like, we don't know with any certainty whether Drew Aller is going to play. If so, how much? And it's one of those things. I was asked on a conversation earlier today on another talk show, like, do you think they're going to, because of the problems that Bo Pribula could give Ohio State, they'll play Pribula more no matter what? And it's one of those things, I think I said in the conversation, it's like, let's start with one of the funny things to me is always, well, this player, he's like at 80% or he's at 90%. What if Drew Aller is 93.4% good to go on Saturday? What is that actually measuring?
Sure.
Like, I get you're either 100% or you're not. And if you're not 100, to me, it comes down to, and there's no way, like, Andy Kotelnicki and James Franklin and the Penn State coaches are going to be able to assess. Drew Aller and the medical team are going to be able to assess. Like, the 2 things to me are, obviously, number one, can he plant the foot and follow through, and does he feel like he's capable of throwing the ball accurately and with to the degree that makes him effective, number one. But also, close number 2, a big part of Drew's game this year has been, while the offensive line has played very well and given him lots of protection, he has also been able to slide here and there and buy himself a little extra time, look downfield, make the big throw, and slide and get, I'm just going to take off and run. And he's gotten some really key runs. I get that he's not a running quarterback the way Bo Pribula is, but he has been really effective in spots, picking his spots. And, man, here's the opportunity. Take advantage of it. To me, if he can't do those things, I'm not – well, let's start. If he can throw the ball, I think you get him in there. But I also think part of this is then you see how the game is playing out. Like, if he takes a hit, is he still effective? Is he – and I think he needs to be honest. And I think, to his credit, he was honest at Wisconsin. It's like, listen, I can't – like, there's no reason to play hero here. We have a really capable backup. And, I'm not going to be what I – need to be effective on the field. So I think part of it is just, his honesty, seeing how the game plays out. If he's able to go, I don't think you go in with a definitive, hey, he's playing this amount of plays. And I think it's, all right, let's see what Pribula is doing when he's in there.
I'm with you.
What's Aller doing when he's in
there?
Let's put Bo
out there, see how it rolls. If Drew is okay to go, it's the old football adage. You lose your position because of injury and stuff like that, where, it would behoove Drew to have another week off, in my opinion. But, we're at the biggest game of the year right now. If he's able to play, he will. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, do you just put Bo out there, see how it's going, and then say, okay, Drew, okay, it's not working right now. Let's give you a shot right now. Or do you say, well, he's our starter. We're going to go out there and hopefully he stays healthy? Well, what do you feel? See, I personally feel it's an MCL. Yeah, because how he was on the sideline.
Yeah,
that's
and the
just,
way
they weren't
locking
him
don't
up. They
know.
weren't taping him. They weren't icing him. They weren't immobilizing him. They didn't have him on a cart. They had him standing up on the sideline. So it just led me to believe it wasn't a real heavy structural issue. Now, with an MCL, you can play on those. It's pain and this and that, but as an offensive lineman, it's a little bit easier than playing as a quarterback. and like what you just said, stepping into a pass, guys falling at your legs. I mean, are you still going to be a little shell shocked possibly? Who knows? It is, it'll be interesting to see who plays this week. I think it's Bo personally, and I have zero knowledge, nor have I asked anybody. I don't like doing that. Oh, what do you think? Who's playing? Who's playing? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to go without. We're going to see who he's got. So, with what I saw from Pabrula on Saturday night, I'm quite content with him being the starting quarterback this week.
Well, so there's, again, to me, if Aller can go, that's your primary guy, but that's a big if. And again, I don't think you get so locked in, and at least according to Franklin, they're both getting a ton of reps. So I think you just. It's going to be more of a feel thing, I think, if Aller is ready to go. Obviously, if he's not ready to go, I'm with you. I think we've seen enough of Pabula even before Saturday night, but certainly after the Wisconsin game that it's like, hey, that we're more than capable of going out and playing well. And again, we talk about the depth that this team has built across the board where, potentially – you could be without KJ Winston, arguably, certainly one of your top 3 defensive players, arguably your number 1 top talent defensively, certainly one of the maybe 3, but probably one of the 2. Deny Dennis Sutton, who is, that's clearly an elite defensive end. Anthony Donka, who I could make a contention at this point, Goon, that when he is healthy, he is as good a player as they have on that offensive line. And that nowadays is saying something because that is a good offensive line across the board. But the fact that you could be without a premier defensive end, a premier safety, a really good starting offensive tackle at the very least, and your starting quarterback who is playing at a very high level, that you could be without all 4 of those guys potentially. And I don't think that there's panic. Well, I know there's not panic within the locker room, but I don't think even fans are like, yeah, man, I mean, obviously we'd love to have all 4 of those guys. It's not that you don't want all of them, but yeah, we can go to battle without them and feel confident that we can go in and hang with Ohio State and maybe pull it out. That is a testament to the recruiting and the way Penn State has built up and addressed what was, I think, pretty glaringly something that needed to improve if Penn State was going to legitimately contend
the next step
for a national title.
Yep.
Correct.
And we talked about it a lot on Tuesday, and that is, who's the pressure on? You've swayed me in the past, Ted.
Yeah, I will tell you.
I'm getting me over the head the other day.
Well,
I'm running around town screaming.
I'm getting pushback on it, but the more I think about it, the more convinced I am that
absolutely.
Listen, in the moment, if Penn State loses this game, and especially let's just play out the hypothetical. If Penn State has a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter and the Nittany Lions lose it, right? Like, yes, anguish across the board. All of the things that have come up are going to
deserve it.
Yes, going to be talked about again. A couple of things on that in a second. But so in the moment, it is going to be, same old Penn State, same old James Franklin problems. But here's the reality. You lose this game, everything and more that were the objectives, and I'm talking now from the fan base standpoint. In the locker room, I'm presuming their goal is the national title, and that is certainly very much on the table. I think most Penn State fans going into this season were content. I think a large portion of them would be content with, we want to be one of the 12 teams. We want to be in the playoffs. Anything after that is gravy. I think there was another strong contingent of Penn State fans like, getting to the playoffs. I mean, that's not really, yes, we need to do that, but we want to host a playoff game or have a bye and we want to be at least one of the final 8. Well, you lose this game, all of that and more still very much on the table. And I think most fans and most of the folks that were doing projections before the season, 10-2 was still the most common prediction I saw for Penn State this season. And virtually everybody chalked up one of those two losses as being, well, yeah, they'll lose to Ohio State and possibly fill in the blank.
USC, West Virginia,
Wisconsin,
USC,
West Virginia, what different folks had different games. But Ohio State was the one. And there were a substantial number of folks, Penn State homers, if you want to call them that. No, I think we're going to go 11-1. Well, where's the one? Well, everybody knew where the one was without even having to ask the question. So while I understand the narrative, and I do think James Franklin wants to change that, I know Penn State fans want to change that, I really think we're at a point now, 7 games into this winning streak for Ohio State in the series, that both fans expect the result. Ohio State say, yeah, we know Penn State's a big game, but man, we win it. It's kind of like the Steelers and the Browns. Like, you know it's going to be a tough game. Browns always give you their best shot, but come on. We're the Steelers, they're the Browns. And I think Ohio State has that same mentality, and I think because of what has happened and the way it's played out over the last 7 years, a very large contingent of Penn State fans are willing to cede. Okay, but this is the one that we're not going to win during the regular season. So it changes the narrative for sure if James Franklin wins it. But the narrative is James Franklin's really good. Penn State is really good. And truthfully, in terms of sneaking into the playoffs under the radar, it probably helps them if they lose this game. And listen, I don't think, to go back to the, if they blow a 10-point lead, I just think there's something different about this team. And maybe I've said this about other teams when they were matching up with Ohio State in the past, but I really do. We've talked about it, the physicality up front on both lines. So the defensive line with Zane Durant and Ford came through in a big way Saturday night. You're seeing some more players develop into being contributors, which I think is significant, as well as this team makes the push toward the postseason. But I just, obviously, we'll see how it plays out, and we'll know more after Saturday. I don't think this team, if it gets a lead, and that's a little presumptuous, admittedly, I just don't think this team, with the way it is made up, and I think we saw it both in the USC and the Wisconsin game a bit in different ways, kind of the character, the resiliency, the toughness. This team's just not going to blow that kind of a lead, even against a team that is, and I do believe Ohio State, top to bottom, is as talented, if not more talented, than anybody in the country. But a lot of times, Goon, these games come down to matchups, and I do think Penn State this year, and really for one of the few times in the James Franklin era, I think Penn State matches up really well with Ohio State in some of the key spots, the lines and at quarterback. And it's not
well, we talked last
I'm not
year.
trying to give bulletin board material for the Buckeyes with the quarterback situation already being what it is. But, I mean, come on. Any objective observer going into this game, would you rather have Aller and Fabula, or would you rather have Will Thomas? Well, I mean, objectively, 90% plus of coaches, fans, locker rooms, I'll take the Aller Fabula.
Yeah, I got you. And you're going to hear this on Sunday if Penn State loses. Well, we fell for it again.
Will Howard, by the way. I think I said Will Thomas. Sorry. I'm like,
all good.
I've got names
I just think that Sunday's going to be, it's a typical Penn State. They fold us into this and that. It's the same old Penn State, But again, we are built to try and beat the top dog in our conference, and that is Ohio State. Okay, the last few years it's become Michigan, and Michigan beat the tar out of us because we've been recruiting faster athletes and stuff like that around, and they came out and bludgeoned everybody. So, yes, we do match up well with Ohio State, top to bottom. We are still considerably young on the offensive line, but that offensive line is as good as the offensive line we've had in 20 years here. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Zero doubt in my mind that this is the best offensive line we've had in a while. fantastic tight end. The receivers are a little hurting in this and that, but I just have a feeling that Fleming is going to play out of his mind because of who he's playing against, his former team. And I think that Kotelnicki may actually use Fleming a little more because he knows how much it means to Fleming playing against his former team. Defensively, I'm okay. I think that, I got back to the problem with Ohio State right now is they are not getting much pressure with their front four. And how many times have they destroyed Penn State with just the front four pressure?
Yep. And
drop 7 back and sit back there. How many defensive touchdowns has Ohio State scored on Penn State since 2000? It's an amazing number.
It is.
Crazy number. Drives you a little batty, but it is what it is. Yeah. Defensively, we do match up well with them. We do need to play a physical game, but they are really, really banged up on the offensive line. They have a left guard. They're moving out to play left tackle this week, and they're starting a true freshman, I believe, at left guard. That's what's suspected. It is a huge advantage for Penn State defensively to get pressure. How about we give Ohio State a little taste of their own medicine, get pressure with 4 guys up front, and sit back in the nice little zone back there and pick off some passes. So I do like Penn State this week. I don't think there is a ridiculous amount of pressure on this team, and I think that our team is going to handle that well. We go back to what we said Tuesday on all different scenarios. If we lose, we don't go to the Big Ten title game, but we probably win out and host a home playoff game. If we win out and play in the Big Ten title game. If we win or lose, we'll have a bye, but we lose, we get a first-round home game.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of who does it mean? But Ohio State needs this game with who they have. We have 4 very winnable games, and that scares that I say that because Minnesota's completely been a bugaboo late in the year for us historically. I think we win this game and we run the table this season, go to the Big Ten, and then, roll it out there with Oregon or Indiana. But again, the pressure is on Ohio State. You got me, dude. You got me thinking. And I had some people from Ohio State who were coming in, and we were talking. And I'm telling you right now, they want Day's head. They want him gone. They are not liking him at all.
To me. It really is bizarre to
Spoiled.
me.
Spoiled.
And I get the importance of the Michigan game and the whole bit, but yeah, listen, there's no question that this was a national title or bust season for Ohio State, and they embraced it. By the way, Ryan Day and the team, but I'm saying that they acknowledged before the season, yes, this is our mission is win the national title. Now, they're not out of the national title picture, and while the national title is the focus, I think it presumed in that was, we'll be Big Ten champions, we'll run the table, worst case scenario, maybe have a stumbling block. Yeah. Here's something I think is interesting. I still believe, but I'm getting some pushback on this too. I believe that Ohio State, while this is a huge game, and I do think the implications are heavier for Ryan Day than they are for James Franklin, I think Ohio State is in the playoffs if they run the table after this Penn State game, regardless of the result.
I agree.
I'm getting pushback on that, saying, I wouldn't be so sure. Now, here's why I am confident of that.
Think someone's telling you that if they are 2 losses are to Oregon and Penn State, who are now number 1 and 2 in the country.
So this is the thing. Exactly. And that's my point is I get that it's 2 losses, and you could potentially have a bunch of 1-loss SEC teams or Indiana in there with a contention, depending. Again, I'm presuming Ohio State beats Indiana. Obviously, a 3rd loss changes the equation, and that's not the discussion we're having right now.
Correct.
But what I'm saying is if Ohio State loses this game and runs the table, exactly what you said. So, Goon, they would have 2 losses to worst case scenario, 2 of the top 3 ranked teams in the country.
Exactly.
I think probably Oregon and Penn State would end up 1 and 2.
Yep.
But worst case, Penn State would be 3, Oregon 1. And as you said, both on the road, and I am also presuming a competitive game here. I don't think either of these teams are running the other out of the stadium here on Saturday afternoon. So I am assuming close, meaning at least within 10 points and very, very possibly, a point or two difference at the end of the game. So not only do you have 2 really close losses on the road to 2, the scenario that I'm having play out would be 2 undefeated teams during the regular season. But you would have then a rebound win against an Indiana team that is so you would have a quality win. I mean, a high quality win in there.
Agreed.
They have some other wins that I would argue are quality as well. And obviously you'd have Michigan at the end of the year. Michigan may very well end up a 500 team this season. That's kind of my expectation.
More to talk about that later.
Yes. So regardless of that, so I do think that gets Ohio State in, regardless of the other potential scenarios that play out. However, where I do think, and again, I'm looking at this as the national title is the ultimate objective. Listen, it makes Ohio State's road to that national title more difficult for sure. I think most Ohio State fans were assuming going into the season, well, we'll clearly be Big Ten champions and we'll have the first round bye. Obviously, if they lose this game, that is all but out the window. That they're not going to be in the championship game.
Yep.
Almost impossible to see Penn State or Oregon stumbling twice down the stretch at this point. So if that is the case, I do think it is almost guaranteed that while Ohio State would be in the playoffs, they also would be on the road for the first round of the playoffs. So I think they'll have to play each round. And I don't think at 10-2, even with those 2 losses being to Oregon and Penn State, potentially both undefeated going into the Big Ten championship game, I do think there's enough other teams. Well, first of all, you start the highest they would be 6 at that point. They're not going to be 6 with 2 losses. There's going to be some other teams with 1. So I do think from an athletic department standpoint, right? Like you're wanting that revenue from the home game. If you're not getting the bye in the first round, we at least want the home game.
That's still up in the air. We don't know that.
I think that is
the local economy.
I think that is unlikely. That Ohio, very unlikely, bordering on not going to happen definitively.
Case in point, Alabama's going to have 2 losses. Right now, it's 2 losses: Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Who has 2 worse losses? Those 2, or to Ohio, or to Oregon and Penn State, who are 1 and 3 in the country? So,
no, I think Ohio State again is in the playoffs. It's just
correct
where they get seated then matters, and at the very least, I don't think they'd be one of the top 6. And I think it's unlikely that they would be one of the top 8. Now, we got to see how a lot of things play out before we make grand proclamations along those lines.
Let's fast forward 5 days from now. This is a whole different conversation we're having.
Well, and listen, part of this is you got to see how the SEC plays out. And I still think the ACC, there are going to be some really interesting discussions. If we end up with 2 or 3 teams with 1 loss in the ACC, and especially if it's like a Clemson that plays, let's say an SMU in the ACC championship game, and let's say SMU beats Pitt here this weekend, and they run the table, and they're the team. If SMU edges Clemson, like it's a man,
Clemson get in
almost like a fluky. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to leave Clemson, but their other loss would be Georgia early in the year, and again, presuming Georgia finishes up strongly.
I mean, remember when we were complaining about who the 4th and 5th and 6th teams are when there was a 14 playoff?
Yep.
It's going to be the same thing with 13,
and that's
12,
what we
13,
said.
14,
I think
15.
it's a better argument to have because I do think.
And then you'd be like, you lost 2 games. What part aren't you getting? I know it's when you lost, who you lost to, how much you lost to them. All of that crap goes into this.
But it's going to be more so if you have 1-loss teams, though, that it's even more. listen, I will make a strong argument as much as I might not like doing it on behalf of Ohio State. But if let's say Ohio State loses by a field goal to Penn State Saturday and thumps Indiana.
Thumps Michigan.
And then are you putting in a one-loss ACC team or a one-loss Big 12 team that obviously we're not talking champions here, over a two-loss Ohio State team that doesn't get to the championship game?
I need something answered.
Yep.
I don't even know the answer to this. Who is picking the 12? Is it the same committee like we picked the 4 before?
It is.
So it's the same setup
it's the
type
committee.
of thing?
It's not the same people, but yes.
Is it dominated by the SEC and the Big Ten because it seems like we're working together a lot?
Well, I think I don't know that the committee is dominated by it. I mean, college football clearly is dominated by it. But
I'm sorry, but a 2-loss Ohio State, 1-loss Indiana is better than a 1-loss Pitt, a 1-loss Clemson.
I mean, I think so too.
I think the ACC is an absolute freaking joke.
Well, there's going to be some interesting discussion points coming up, regardless of how this plays out. But listen, we'll get into the matchups because, again, while I still would contend, man for man, Ohio State has as much or more talent than any team in the country. And I certainly, while I think Penn State's roster is terrific, I think the depth is great. It's another year where I think Ohio State just has a better overall talent. Now, I think Ohio State has better overall talent than everybody, but football often comes down to matchups. It's like you might have the better overall roster, but man, this team matches up well there. And I think there are some key spots here where this year, unlike years past, I think Penn State matches up really well and maybe even has the advantage. And I think that is going to bode well to the outcome of Saturday afternoon's game. We'll pick that discussion up on the other side of this timeout. You are listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube. It is the place to be. If you are a sports fan, you can come on down and watch all of the football, hockey, basketball, whatever action you want to watch. It will be available on the TV screens down here. You can also enjoy great food, great beverage, and the best doggone service you're going to find anywhere in our area. We're coming right back with more on this Thursday afternoon.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
We welcome back in here to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on the Thursday before Penn State, Ohio State noon kickoff. Well, little afternoon on Saturday at Beaver Stadium. And 7-game win streak for Ohio State in the series going into this matchup. And I think a lot of Penn State fans, as we get closer to the game, are both worried that here we go again, but also, man, I think, and how many times over the last 7 years have Penn State fans felt like, no, I think this is the year Penn State can take them. Here's why I do think Penn State has an excellent chance, and I do think this game is going to come down to the wire, and it's going to be one team or the other makes a couple of clutch plays. Here's a couple of reasons why I think it is possible, maybe bordering on likely, that it will be Penn State doing that this year. One, they've done it. They've been in some clutch situations, and they've not just made plays, they've had different guys step up. Like Tyler Warren is Tyler Warren. You kind of know, man, if you need him, he's going to do everything he can to make something for you. But we've seen Julian Fleming come up in the clutch, have to make a play and do so. We've seen Liam Clifford come up with some big catches in big moments. Obviously, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen have picked up some tough yards when this team needed it. Bo Prabula in a pressure situation responds when called upon here on Saturday night. So offensively, we've seen Penn State produce in the clutch, and I think we've seen enough variety from this offense in those clutch situations now that it's like, well, okay, if Ohio State takes Tyler Warren out or takes Nicholas Singleton out, not let them have that. We have Khalil Dickens over here. We have Julian Fleming. We have Liam Clifford. There's other options there for Penn State to feel comfortable going to. I also do think,
and we have done it.
Yes.
So it's not like Ohio State's going to sit there and say, we got to lock down Tyler Warren.
Right.
They can't do that because there's been so many guys stepping up this year.
So
sorry.
I think that's a great point. And I think Aller, so if Aller plays, again, to me, not saying Will Howard couldn't have the game of his life, and I'm not saying Will Howard isn't capable of leading Ohio State to a win. Certainly, I think he is capable of doing that.
Sure.
But when you're looking at the matchup in this game, the advantage with, if it's a healthy Aller and Prabula, although I would argue, and I think this is maybe more debatable, I would argue if you're Penn State and you have the options and forget everything else, what's been said, what's been done, would you rather have Bo Pribula coming off of the performance he had in the second half against Wisconsin Saturday night, or Will Howard? I think Bo Pribula is what you feel more comfortable with in the clutch situations. And again, I am not throwing Will Howard under the bus. I think he is a very good quarterback, and I think Ohio State is a team that is capable of putting it together on any given Saturday and winning against anybody. Oregon, Texas, Georgia, Penn State. This is that. But I think Penn State has the advantage going in at quarterback. And I think Penn State has the slight advantage, and admittedly, partly because of injuries. I mean, we're not taking this in a vacuum. This is the situation that both teams are in going into this game. I think Penn State's defensive line against Ohio State's offensive line going in, after watching what Penn State has done recently and watching what Ohio State did or didn't do against Nebraska here this past weekend, I think that is advantage going in Penn State. Now, do I think it's a wide gap and, man, Ohio State can't match up? They're just – no.
They're hurt.
But I think it's advantage Penn State going into this game. Well, that's huge, folks. Like, when is the last time you went into this game truly believing that, yep, Penn State has the advantage there on the line of scrimmage?
19-something.
Yeah, it's not been – and on the other side, I think it's basically a wash, and it might even be advantage Penn State there. Maybe debatable, but Ohio State's defensive line has not been what they thought it would be, they being the fans, in terms of the numbers. They're not getting the sacks. They're not getting the they're not stopping the run the way you would
people
expect.
Calling out Larry Johnson. Yeah, they have been.
And listen, and I do think this is the most physical offensive line, certainly in the James Franklin era, that Penn State has put together. So when you're talking matchups, and again, health plays into it. Both teams have injuries where they have them and question marks where they have them. We're looking in the moment. This game, particularly on Saturday, I think Penn State matches up at least even on paper, and I get it's not played on paper, but you look at what the teams have done to this point, Penn State matches up at least even and maybe slight advantage at the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, and I think Penn State has the advantage at quarterback. Well, most football games, if you ask coaches, hey, I'm going to give you the team that, probably has the advantage on the lines and has the advantage in quarterback play. But the other team might have and I'm not conceding Ohio State has the advantage everywhere else, but let's just for the moment, are you going to go with the advantage in those spots or take the rest of the field? You're going to take every coach. I'll tell you, you give me the advantage on the line of scrimmage and a quarterback, I'll take my chances with everything else. And again, I'm certainly not conceding Ohio State has the advantage everywhere else. I think both these teams have outstanding secondaries. I think Ohio State unquestionably has more talent at wide receiver. I don't think that's debatable.
But they don't have a Marvin.
They
do not have the historic absolute go-to
phenom
monster wide receiver this year.
And Penn State does have a phenom at tight end, and I think has the advantage there, although I think Ohio State is very good at the tight end spot. And I think, the linebackers, I would say is advantage Ohio State, but I don't think it's a huge advantage Ohio State. And listen, both these teams have great running backs, and it's plural. I mean, they both have superstar backfields. So at the end of the day, and I think Penn State has figured things out on special teams. Knock on wood as I say that, because any given week, but it certainly feels like they have figured that part out, and I think that's kind of a wash going into this game as well. So, we'll see what happens. But It is at Penn State. I think that's a big deal.
Yep. I got to say one thing.
Even though it's a noon kickoff.
Well, with the quarterback, Will Howard, coming in from down in town and stuff like that.
Yep.
He's talked about how he grew up a Penn State fan. I wasn't good enough for them, this and that. He's done it twice now.
Yep.
I think he's putting the pressure on himself that he might come in here and try to do too freaking much and be JoJo the Wild Boy, like, getting all wound up and this and that, and not being what he's done to get to this point right now. You know what I mean? Like, I think he might be trying to do too much, trying to be lead this team, be this guy, the leader, all this and all that. And, I hope he does well as a Pennsylvania kid and this and that, but don't sit there. Like I said on Tuesday, I said he's complaining about Penn State not giving him a scholarship. Ohio State didn't give you one until last year anyway. So don't sit there and cry poor mouth that we didn't offer you. The team you're playing for didn't offer you either, dude. So I think he's going to come out there. I think he's going to try to prove a point all at once, and he might be a little spastic. By the way, Tom Brady's catching crap for calling a football player a spaz. I didn't know that was a derogatory name now.
Yeah, everything.
Is it really?
Derogatory name.
Well, what is a spaz? Yeah. What is it short for? Spastic? Whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I just don't get it. But I think he might come in here, try to put the weight of the world on his shoulders and lead this team to victory because I'm the quarterback for Ohio State, yada, yada, yada. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself in a game like this. A lot of pressure to put on yourself. So I think that is going to play into it a little bit. Him trying to be the hero type of thing early. He might screw up. He might throw a couple picks, and we take advantage of it. I am as comfortable going into an Ohio State Penn State game, I think, than I have in a long time. I'm not lying. Again, there's nothing. We're not out of it if it happens. If this was last year and we're 11-1 and Ohio State's our only loss, then maybe you're not getting in the 4 because there's going to be 4 undefeated teams. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm okay because of where at the end of the season what it is, and that will, as time goes on, people will realize that the world is not going to end when you have a loss. It's not going to end when you have 2 losses possibly. So think that James is having these guys go out there with that attitude, like, hey man, let's just let it fly and have some fun. I mean, have you seen James this relaxed?
No, and
this whole season.
So
this
is another point. Yes, so I do think Penn State. This is another reason I'm with you. I feel good about Penn State's chances. Again, I think this game is going to be another coin flip game, and I'm not going to be shocked either way. I'm not. I think these teams. I think Penn State matches up very well. I also think Ohio State is a terrific football team. And could very well, regardless of what happens here Saturday, could very well end up winning the national title here at the end of the year. But there's a couple of things, aside from what we've talked about, that I really like about this year's Penn State team compared to, let's say the last 7 meetings with the Buckeyes. One is, with the coordinators, and it's not just the coordinators, it's the entire coaching staff. I think their ability to adjust to what they're seeing in the game and to put these players in position to make plays in big opportunities has been very impressive, and I think they will do that again. And I think they are excited. The coaches are excited about the opportunity here to go out and prove themselves.
Do you know Kotelnicki's complete background? He made his bones at Kansas. I get it.
Yeah.
Where was he before? Was he at Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, Rutgers guy? Do you know?
He was at Buffalo at one point.
As an OC, right? He's never been ahead, right? So I got to say, this is his first time.
He's not
first really, really big nationwide football game, in my opinion. And I think that he has been the difference this year.
I don't know about that. He had some pretty big.
With Kansas? Kansas and Kansas State?
They were on.
Come on. That's not the level of Ohio State, Penn State, and national television. I don't think so, Head. Come on now. Don't downplay the Nittany Lions. Let's not give Kansas too much love here either.
Well, I think
I just think that he's ready to go. I mean, this is his coming out party.
Go, but
I'm just watching the highlights of this USC stuff, and God, he does a lot of stuff.
Well,
he truly does. I would not want to coach against that man with what he throws out there.
Well, and so this is the other thing. So I do think that this year's team is approaching this, and this I don't know. This is admittedly kind of speculation on my part, but just seeing how Kotelnicki in particular, but this staff in general is handling everything about this season. I think this game in particular, I really do think they're looking at this as, man, what a cool opportunity. Yep. Not that, man, we've got to get this monkey off of our back with Ohio State. And I think they are having fun with it. And I think where this game comes at the right stage of the season, in that we've talked about Andy Kotelnicki and everything he has added, the little wrinkles here, the added scheme that a defense has to worry about there. I mean, you can hardly wait to see, all right, well, what is it that he has dialed up? Are we going to see, a little shovel pass to an offensive lineman? Could very well see that coming in motion. Could we see a shovel pass to an offensive lineman and then a double reverse with a lineman to Tyler Warren, or vice versa? Could you see, anything, right? Like, there's not anything that you can draw up.
Dawkins is going to take a shovel pass.
There's no chance that this would happen with this Penn State team. So, listen, I think there's going to be a wrinkle or two that'll be thrown that we haven't seen, but off of everything that has been set up to this point. And you have a veteran enough team now and a savvy enough team that, again, hey, we're going to try this. Let's have some fun. And if it doesn't work, it's going to be like, that was fun. Anyways, all right, and let's try the next. It's not that, man, we need this play to work, or right? So I think they're going to have fun with it. And obviously, if it works, you get, all right, this is awesome. Here we go, type of thing. But I do think this is I think it's a combination of a more relaxed team. I don't think they're feeling pressure this week. I think they're seeing big picture stuff. I think they really want to win this game. I think they're focused in on winning this game. But I think they know in their heart of hearts that it is not the end of the world if they lose this game. Well, that is a nice pressure, if you want to call it pressure, to have, where it's like, yeah, okay, man, we really want to do this. And if we don't, okay, back to it next week. I also think there is a different level of confidence with this team this year. And I think that has been earned over the last couple of seasons. This team has put itself in position to host a game like this where they can legitimately believe that they should win this game. And they have now the confidence of knowing that they've won on the road. They've won in primetime environments on the road. They've won in hostile atmospheres on the road. They've won when injuries occurred during the game and they were able to overcome them. They've overcome, questionable officiating calls here and there. And they have faced Ohio State. This isn't it is a big game. It is a really good team. I don't think anybody in that Penn State locker room is looking in awe over at the Buckeyes. Oh man, can you believe this team's actually playing here? It's like, yeah, we've seen them. We know if we had done a couple of things differently, we would have beaten them. And I think that just the maturity of this team, the number of guys that they have that have gone through the experiences that they have over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and then having that infusion of new blood, guys that are just chomping at the bit for the opportunity to get on the field in a game like this, that is a nice mix to have as well. And again, to me, it feels like this thing is all coming together for Penn State to have a real opportunity here to pull off what at the end of the day will be a mild upset now by the odds makers.
Yeah.
And I really don't think it's going to feel like that great of an upside. It's going to feel like you won a big game, but I don't think Penn State players are going to walk off the field like, man, can you believe we beat Ohio State? I think if they win it, it's like, yeah, kind of saw this coming. Yeah. We thought we'd do it.
And there's a question.
If they win it, Goon, I do think there becomes a deep belief within that locker room. And maybe it's already there. Maybe it's there regardless of the outcome Saturday. But I just think you win this game, it's like, you know what? National championship, that is on the table. Like it looks like a reality now, right? Like that, you win this game, you look like a team that is a legitimate national title contender.
In the national eye also.
For sure.
Not just you, your team, and your local people, not me and you. That is a national level saying, okay, well, Penn State is for real this year. And this is what we have to do. The string has to be broken sometime. And I think this is James's best opportunity to do this year. I think they're a ridiculously well-led team, and they're not going to let these guys lose. I just think that this team is ready to take that next step, and that step is Saturday. And it would be an upset. They're 3.5-point favorites, and I'm sitting there and I was like, do our fans rush the field if it's a victory? And I would hope to God no. Like, you know what I mean? I can see it because there's a lot going into it, a lot of invented, a lot of this and that over the years. And if they run the field, it would be, celebrating this and that. But I would be like, it's Tennessee beating Alabama last year. I could see that. Us upsetting Ohio State at home as a 3-point underdog, when
that's the higher rank
as
team.
We getting closer and closer and closer to them each year. I don't think I hope that they wouldn't personally. But if it's what about the last second field goal? We hit a last second field goal to win. That's what I predicted, by the way. Heartbreak kids come out again, and I predicted that we're going to win by 3 on the last second field goal, and then I think the place goes absolutely bonkers. No, we did last week too, bro. We were very close last week.
Yeah, really.
Not me
close.
and you. I mean, like me, you, and the final.
Yeah. No, I had it 31-16. I had if both teams kick one more field goal, we get it exactly, but got the margin exactly right. And by the way, pat ourselves on the back. I kind of called how it would play out. Like that game, and that is rare, by the way. The reason I'm pointing it out is that does not happen very often. But I think it'll be a close game, competitive at halftime. Then I think Penn State will pull away,
horses take control.
And listen, I think that is, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break here, but I do want to talk about on the other side of the break the importance of a good start.
Sure.
How important is a good start, which that has been a struggle for sure for Penn State to get off to a good start, but the Nittany Lions are sitting there undefeated. I want to talk about a couple of different ways that a good start could really set the table here for Penn State on Saturday. Let's take a break here. Do have a couple of comments too. Penn State matches up with Ohio State, and it's finally time to put the nail in the coffin. And not a PSU topic, but if Army goes undefeated and makes CFP series, when will the Army-Navy game be played? Yeah, that one is interesting because the Army-Navy game has zero impact on the college football playoffs. The originally scheduled game,
yes,
because that will already be determined. So that's interesting. On a number of different fronts.
Leave it to Allen.
Yeah. So that's a very good question. I think there's some people grappling with that at the moment, trying to figure out exactly what you do with that. Because if there's one game that has to be played every college football season, right, you can't not play that game. It would be the week of the playoffs. That's
21st.
Because it is always played the week after the championship games, which will be
the
that
14th,
previous week. Yeah, that's the championship games. The Army-Navy game is played the week
We have
after
2 weeks
that.
after
So
our last game to the Big Ten title game.
no, the following week. So we will take a break and sort through all of that. On the other side, you are listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox, the Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back in here on this Thursday afternoon. And so,
craziness ensuing.
Yeah, so Army-Navy would be played, on the 14th. Yeah, you're right. And then the 21st is when the playoffs would start. What is so you could have, and I could argue that this could even be an advantage. Let's just say Army runs the table.
Yep.
And Army wins the conference and then plays. They would be the only team that would continue playing, would have the weekly schedule because everybody else would be off at least 2 weeks before that championship game. Now, again, from a flow standpoint, I think offensively now, Army's not exactly throwing the ball all over the place, but most teams, I think, would prefer that you keep a weekly schedule. You get into that routine, injuries aside. You get into the routine. You like the game week routine. I don't know. I don't think it's a huge advantage for Army, but maybe a slight advantage if you get to play in that championship game, then play Navy, and then play in that first round of the playoffs. And you could potentially be playing a team that is off 3 weeks.
Yes.
And that would be interesting if you had like an Army Ohio State game, and Ohio State's been off 3 weeks. Army's been playing, and I don't know. I don't know that I think it's a great advantage, but I think it probably is
for timing and all. They're an option team.
Yeah,
and I'm interested to see how would they do against Notre Dame, because I thought Navy would have a better shot than they did last week.
I did too,
and Navy just got pummeled.
Yeah.
So they're in the AAC, Army Navy.
Correct.
They'd be an at-large team, right?
Well, they could conceivably. It depends on. We'll know more on Tuesday this coming week when the college football playoff rankings come out.
Okay,
but they could be.
They're in not in the Power 5, right?
Well, so there's the Power 4, and then there is that 5 spot. If
Notre Dame,
if a team is ranked in the top 12, the champion of one of the other conferences gets that 5 seed, and if not, they get one of the seeds. If they're not in the top 12, the I guess next highest ranked non Power 4 conference champion gets an automatic bid. So, and listen, this is another thing that when you're looking at all of the different scenarios. So let's say Boise State runs the table,
correct,
and gets in there and is 12 or higher, in the final college football playoff ranking. Are you going to leave an undefeated Army team out of the picture versus a 2-loss Ohio State team or a 2-loss
Army would jump
Alabama
Boise
team?
if they beat Notre Dame?
I would certainly presume that would be the case.
Well, Army runs they're going to be in, but think about that, and then they lose the Navy the 14th. Does that count against? Man.
Yeah, they are likely. And again, there's a lot of things that could play out, and a lot of this stuff I think will take care of itself. I don't think Army's going to run the table. I'll be rooting for it. I'd love to see it. Don't think it's going to happen. But listen,
you guys don't really have these Thanksgiving Day football games like they did where I grew up in Philly. Every team had a Thanksgiving Day rival. Yeah. So sometimes you'd be playing on Thanksgiving Day and had a playoff game Saturday.
Yeah.
Because they would rather play the rival. Like Eastern and Phillipsburg, Easton, Pennsylvania, and Phillipsburg, New Jersey, they play the game down there every year on Thanksgiving. Even if Easton is in the playoffs on Saturday, they will play that game Thursday morning, 2 days before. That's the craziness of it. Now,
that is crazy.
With that said, most teams that if my school, we used to play St. Joe's Prep on Thanksgiving Day every year. This is before the PIAAs. But when the PIAAs started happening and one of us would be in that game on Saturday, they would bring a third team in to play us. So that's how they're doing it. It's just almost like Army. They're not going to say, hey, we're not going to play this game against Navy next week because we got a playoff game in 2 weeks. There's no way in hell they would ever say that, right?
Yeah. I think that's right.
Would a non-Army Navy school? You know what I mean? I know nobody plays that late in the year. Army Navy is always the last game of the year, so I get it. But again, have you ever had this much uncertainty when it comes to a college football season? I mean, even off the air, we're sitting here talking about parking if there's a playoff game. Who's in control of the parking? Who's in control of the tickets? Like we talked about for how long now? It's just so much stuff up in the air. It's completely insane to even fathom. But I know sure as heck if we win this week, we better start worrying about it because that's going to happen. We're going to have a home, unless we win the Big Ten title. But hey, let's just win this weekend, Jeff. Let's call that even.
Yeah,
taking care of business.
And listen, and then the first college football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday, and you'll start to at least see kind of what their thinking is, what they're putting weight and credence in. And I know we keep talking about this, but the closer it gets now to the possibility of being a reality, and again, Saturday will determine a lot here in terms of what is
true
possible. But I think there are a good number of Penn State fans who, while it would be really cool to be undefeated and be one of the top 4 seeds, maybe even the top seed going into the playoffs, there's a part of you that wants the home game in the playoffs and just the experience of postseason football at Beaver Stadium. And what I think we're heading toward a 16-team playoff, which I know there's I think that's really where we should have started, and I think this should have been done back in the 80s and all of that. But whatever.
You just trying to get me mad right now?
I think if you went to 16 teams, one of the advantages there is, well, then you have the top 8 seeds all play at home in the first round. You're taking away it's too far to say it's a punishment to not have the home game, but it is. You're not getting. Well, I'll ask you. Maybe former players might have a different perspective. Do you think having that home game? I almost feel like having the home game experience and keeping the rhythm of your offense. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And I don't know that we'll ever get a large enough sample size with the 12-team format to be able to honestly assess this, because I don't think 1 or 2 years gives you a chance to fairly or completely assess, okay, yes, my gosh, those teams clearly had an advantage and they were able to keep it rolling. But I do wonder whether or not there is some advantage from a momentum standpoint and just the confidence and everything else that being one of those 5 through 8 seeds would have over being a top through 4 seed, because you have that week off. And I realize in theory, well, yeah, now we can rest up. We get everything shored up, where all of that, just like a bye week, there's supposed to be some advantage to that. And maybe there will be. Maybe it's definitive and there's no question about it. But I wonder if you're the 5 seed, right, or the 6 seed, and you win, and let's say you win pretty convincingly at home.
Yep.
Now you're riding that wave of momentum into a game against a team who did not play the previous week in now a neutral site.
Well, there's another 2 weeks in between the first and second round.
Yep. And so how much of an advantage I'm sorry. Yes. So
think about that now.
Yes. Having, I'm sorry.
No, but think about that. You're playing Oregon. Just say Oregon wins the Big Ten title game December 7th.
Yes.
They're not playing until January.
Right.
Where the team that they're playing might have 2 games in. Woo.
Or if you're Army, potentially, you could have, yes. And I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe you'd rather have the rest. It's
Army has a 26-game season this season. Holy crap!
But if you're an offense that is
you're clicking.
Yeah, in rhythm.
Yep.
And you have a quarterback.
They're an option team. That is about rhythm and consistency.
Yeah.
And an option quarter in the option.
But I'm saying even the other top teams like a Georgia or an Oregon. I keep forgetting about the off weeks in there. So that gives you three 3 weeks off. I don't know how much of an advantage slash disadvantage is it being a 4 seed versus a 6 seed.
We're looking for is the weather. That's why I want a home game, is because I want to see a team have to come up here and deal with our weather. As crazy as that sounds.
I don't know. I think if you get to a 16-team format, you just take away because then all of the first round games are at home sites, and I think you have a more, at least a more equitable scale of the postseason opportunities.
And it's not like they don't have anything to look at. They have Division I AA, Division II, and Division III who have done it forever.
Yeah.
That's what drives you a little batty.
Yes,
well, that's right? I mean, I don't have to tell you, but of all of the NCAA sports, the only one that is not competed at the end of the year as a tournament is the most lucrative sport of them all, and that is college football. I mean, Division I college, and I just don't understand. I mean, you just had to say who was making all that money. Was it why? Why did they not have a playoff? Who made that money? The bowl people? And they're the ones who kept it to the same way for years, and they were greasing politicians? I don't know. Why did it never happen? You know what I mean? What was it about the bowl system?
It was the power of
the people in charge.
They didn't want to disrupt the potential, and it never made. I mean, we had
0 cents.
Going back to the 80s, we had talk shows where we had people say, "Well, no, the playoffs would make X amount more than the bowl system does. You'd more than," but people didn't. They were scared to I guess potentially risk it.
It's actually funny because I have talked to, when I was working in the weight room, and I'll talk to Tangwell now, like people who go to SpeechCom and have to make speeches on reg, football players just talk about paying athletes, is a speech I made every year, and having a playoff system. I remember doing it. I did it. My friends did it. Everybody had the same speeches all the time because it was like that was important to us. And it was always like, what was stopping it? What was stopping that from happening? And I just don't. I mean, the money and the prestige of the bowl coalition people, tax purposes, politicians' money. I don't know what it was that it never changed. Now that would be great. Somehow get an answer to that.
Lack of foresight by the NCAA always plays a role.
But then the NCAA had the basketball tournament making $4 billion a year. Yep. How did they not have the foresight to say, hey, maybe this football thing, we can make $8 billion doing this?
No, it was insane. Goon does have a huge head. Landon Wayne.
What?
And happy Halloween.
You're lucky you're behind that wall, Landon.
Happy
By the way,
Halloween.
The wings are good. You can't have any, buddy. Ha ha. And it's not my fault Wisniewski busted you up on the golf course today, Tangwell.
What candy are you handing out tonight, Goon?
Buddy, I haven't had this is my issue.
Nobody comes to your door?
None.
Oh,
every year I go out and I buy, and it really stinks, Jeff, because I buy nothing but Kit Kats and Reese's and Snickers.
That's what we have,
right?
We have some,
and I end up having to eat them.
I
end up having to eat them.
That's brutal, Goon.
It's torture.
Brutal.
Torture.
This year you bought 20 bags just in case.
I bought the King Kong payday bars. That's actually a good idea. I do have to go out, and we are actually going to a dinner, but I'll put a basket out there, and I literally have done this before. I will put a bucket out there and say take. I don't need to say take one, right? But what happens if the first kid that gets there takes the whole thing, right?
Yeah,
it's never been emptied.
That's amazing.
All the kids.
That really is
my
amazing.
Development. They're starting to have more kids in there now because I guess a lot of people who built in the 80s and 90s in our development are going away. But the younger families are moving in. There's children in our area, so I got to go next door to Big Lots and get a bucket of something for the kiddies, and it won't be eaten. And I'll end up having to take one for the team, Jeff, and eat most of it. So.
Are either of our hockey teams going to win another?
Flyers beat the Bruins the other night.
Can they put together a 2-game win streak, dear Goon?
Jeff, I can't tell you.
It's been rough.
I can't tell you how long it's been since I watched a hockey game. at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And you have to realize, like, as rabid a Pittsburgh Steeler fan you are, I was that rabid about the Philadelphia Flyers. Like the Phillies are great. I love the Eagles and this and that, but the Flyers are my guys.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the Marc-Andre Fleury, actually a good bit of the Marc-Andre Fleury probably.
He
Final
seemed
game
very
in
receptive
Pittsburgh.
to there, but of course
Yeah,
he did. He won the game.
neat. Yeah, and I
Heck
don't
of a
know.
player, man.
Hey, it's frustrating these days with the.
Well, they'll
the
be in
beloved
Kansas City
Pats.
soon enough,
So,
Jeff.
I'm telling you. Back to Penn State, Ohio State here. The importance of a good start, Goon, to you is what? Because while you'd like to see it, it's hard to argue, given the success this team has had without getting off to a good start through 7 games. That it's crucial.
But I've thought we could play the cardiac kids routine a bunch, and we have coming back against USC, winning in overtime, coming back at halftime against Wisconsin. So our kids have that in their head, like, hey, we're never out of these games. But you don't want to make a like that. You don't want that to be your like MO, because there will come a time when you cannot come back, and you're just going to play. Oh, we got this, and then you're going to run out of time. So, yes, it is important to come out strong, come out quick, and be ready to go. I mean, defensively, we look at Illinois, that Illinois game when they went right down the field and scored a touchdown. I got upset. I was like, oh, here we go. And then they settled down. But it's up to the offense. We got to put some points on the board early to put some pressure on Ohio State because, again, they have the pressure.
Yeah.
Not the nippy kittens.
And that's the thing. So I think if Penn State can get off to a good start, I do think it becomes really, really interesting to see how Ohio State reacts. And especially, best case scenario for Penn State would be like a blown coverage by Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
And is there a finger point? Like, I'm just curious to see.
Pick 6,
I think Ryan Day does I really do. I think Ryan Day, part of why I don't understand the Ohio State fans wanting to get rid of him is much like I think James Franklin doesn't get enough appreciation for the culture he creates and the trust that he has within that locker room. Ryan Day, it's the same thing. I know it's the best team money can buy, but I'm telling you, Ryan Day creates that culture. It's like, no, this is, yes, you're a superstar, and we're bringing all these superstars together, but we're here for the collective good, the collective opportunity. Now, you lose this game or you struggle early, I'm just interested to see. Like, you can buy into that culture when things are going well. Are you truly bought in if things start to unravel? We had Jay Paterno on our morning show, and I hadn't really thought about this, and I've been thinking about it pretty much all day since. And I don't think I'm forgetting. We talked about some things on air and off air, and I'm forgetting now if you mentioned it on air. But we were talking about the different world we're in. And he said he thinks you are going to see, well, we've already seen it, but you're going to see more of, and this is where I'm going with Ohio State. So if Ohio State loses this game, it's 2 losses. I think they're still they're certainly in playoff contention. And I think, yes, they're in the playoffs. But do some of the players that are projected to be higher draft picks, it's like, all right, you know what? This isn't happening.
For a year,
so I'm out.
Yeah.
And then maybe it becomes a more difficult.
Like we said, are you playing for the love of the school, or are you playing for that paycheck?
Here's the other thing: is and I've just been I had not even considered it because my assumption has been if you're in the playoffs, you're obviously playing. Jay's like, well, listen, if you're on the 10 or the 11 seed, are you really wanting to play? And you're projected as a top 10 draft pick.
Wow, he went that deep.
Yeah, he's like, do you not think there's going to be
past
some players
not making the playoff? And
there are some players that are going to opt out of the playoffs because of not wanting to jeopardize.
Okay, if you are
their potential payday in the NFL.
Okay, if you are an alumnus of a school and you are giving money to that football program and that happens, that is the last dime I would ever give.
Yes.
And it's not
maybe.
up to the school. You're right.
No,
it's not up to the school. It's up to
right.
it's up to the player.
Well, so this is why I do think you're going to see, and the one thing I think everybody kind of universally agrees on moving forward, the lawyers are going to make out in a huge way.
No way.
But I think one of the things you are going to see written somehow, some way. Now, how you go about enforcing this is another matter altogether. But I think it'll be written into contracts that, listen, if you are healthy and able to play, in order to get the portion of money, and you're going to see playoff money is going to go up, my guess is pretty substantially, to try to avoid these scenarios playing out. But I also think if you opt out for a non-medical reason, then there is going to be some sort of financial penalty instituted by the school. Now, where that's going to get tricky, Goon, is because we're in this era now where, I don't feel quite right. I'm medically cleared, but no,
Devontae Adams,
I
have a
don't feel
hamstring
good.
injury. Then I get traded and play.
Or I feel, man, I woke up this morning, Coach, and I just I have the flu. I just don't feel right. I have some sort of a bug, or
now you're bringing me down.
Well, and this is another component. And listen, there's always people, right? No matter what the game is, there's people that know how to game the game. And we spent some time with Jay this morning talking about mental health and the importance of it, and our overall awareness. And I compare it to the way gone days where you withheld water, and then we learned more physically. It's like, well, my God, that is really detrimental. So you made progress there, and now we know mental health issues are very real, significant. They need to be addressed. Well, how are you? And again, I know a lot of people out there with legitimate, real mental health issues. Do you not think somewhere along the way there is going to be, I don't think this is going to be widespread, but do you not think there's going to be a player say, oh yeah, you know what, anxiety, I can't play. It just happens to be that I'm going to be a number one pick in the NFL draft in the spring. I know we're the number, if we go to a 16-team playoff, I know we're the 14 seed, and you really need me, but no, I'm facing a bit of a mental health crisis. I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm still going to collect all my page. Like you
bring me down,
without knowing that. Again, and I don't think there's many people that are going to do that. And
it'll happen, no?
Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be many that will opt out of the playoffs. But do I think ever since, and I really just hadn't even thought about it. I'm like, well, no, I think if you're in the playoffs, because you have a chance to win a national title, you're still going to play. And then I'm like, well, yeah, maybe you're right. If you're a 10 or 11 seed and you kind of don't really think your team's going to knock off an Ohio State or a Georgia or whatever it may be, and you're looking at protecting your long-term earning potential, I will be very curious to see if we have any of that in this year's playoffs when they finally roll around. Regardless, I am excited about the playoffs finally rolling around.
No, you just completely just
all right,
ruined all my mojo.
We'll try to get the mojo back on
I had
track,
a lot of mojo rocking today. Big
talk
time.
A lot more Penn State, Ohio State.
No.
Again, I really like the opportunity here that Penn State has. It feels different to me this year in terms of the pressure that's on Penn State or not, the pressure that is on Ohio State or not. And I think it is much more so. And why I do think if you're going to have one game, if you're Penn State, where you come out strong at the start, I do think this would be it, because I think putting that seed of doubt quickly in the minds of Ohio State and that sideline, and especially if you can get just a little bit of finger pointing going, hey, dude, like you're an all-star cornerback. How did you not cover that? like that best case scenario for Penn State is you jump out to a quick 7 or 10-0 lead, and you get a little finger pointing going on the other side. Because listen, Penn State, I think when I get off to a good start or not, and I think win, lose, regardless, I think this Penn State team is in this thing together. Now, Penn State loses this game and then drops another one. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about
like
that.
I said about Penn State, they go out there, they do well, they're behind and are always in the game because they know that they've come back in the past. That's Ohio State with us. Ohio State's at the back of their head going, we got Penn State. We know how to come back on these guys. So we got to keep the foot on the throttle the whole game. But it starts in the beginning of the game. You have to come out, play well, stop them defensively, offensively, with our defense, stuff them, get the fans I don't think people realize how much a fan can, in a type of game like this, can make a difference, and how loud and crazy it can get in that stadium. And that's exactly what they need every damn play, because we need everybody to get this done.
Well, and
put that doubt in Ohio State. You're right.
There is going to be such a release on the Penn State side. If Penn State can win this game, and if they early on feel like, yep, this is our day. I'm talking now about the fans.
Sure.
It is.
And it's 3:00, and we got 3 hours to party until it's dark at. Yeah, baby.
Even better. Yeah, that parking lot scene after the game could be.
I went to the parking lot today.
Pretty epic in and of itself. Yeah.
I went to my spot today.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's a monstrosity and a monstrosity, and you're just sitting there going, Fox, this is just insane.
Big Noon game.
Big Noon
ESPN
is up to my right.
Cruise.
Fox is to my left. They're all about 58 yards, 75 yards away, each of them. Just complete mayhem.
It's going to
craziness.
Be fun. It is going to be
I have not seen – I'm looking at the Home Depot stage, and I'm like, oh, my God, how much work goes into this? Because that's on a level where they're putting that. It is not a level area. So it almost looked like – I'll show you the pictures when we're off. It almost looked like they're going to put it in the middle, almost have a circle around it. But I don't think that's never – I've never seen them set up like that. No. They've always had a front screen and then fans in the front of them. But I'm going to go back after here. I got to go to dinner tonight, so I'm going to swing by and check it out to see what it looks like. But I went up there this morning, and it's just they moved all the toilets. I lost my 5-member men's room, which has a slang name for it. Mm-hmm. They moved it. I didn't see where it was. I'm a little upset.
That's not good.
The Blanktagon is missing in the Letterman's lot. I don't know where it is.
Oh, boy. A lot that we got to sort through here, Goon. A lot of logistics.
And Goon has your bet of the week.
Oh, well, you're going to want to stay tuned for that. That is coming up on the other side of our break. This is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox, the Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back in here on an absolutely gorgeous summer day. August 31st. It's hard to believe, Goon, that wait, what's that? Oh, it's October 31st. I'll be a son.
My wife said to me this morning, she goes, it's November tomorrow. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it does not feel like late October or November out there right now. That is for sure. Happy trick-or-treating to all the kiddos. Matt Turtle is very excited. We are going as the Ghostface, the Scream character, and he has a little blood. We're very excited about the flowing blood that'll be part of it.
There's Fox.
Looking forward to that. Yeah,
come into my lot. They're up to the right. There's Bryce Jordan Center. Yep. They moved the toilets. That's the sports properties up there on the other side of Bryce Jordan. Yep. There's the trucks. Oh, well, I didn't take the pictures. My wife sent them to me. I'll find two more.
Sexy, scary.
Well, that was the lady from the Munsters, and I just could not believe it.
What was her name? Yeah, I was like,
I forget the lady from the Munsters. She was gorgeous.
Let the record clearly show.
This is true.
So, all right, Penn State, Ohio State. We're both, which is a little scary, both feeling good.
That's from my spot. It's in the sun, but you see the four posts? They're dead straight in the middle.
Yeah,
that's where the lighting goes. So I don't know if that moves, and I'm going to find out more about 4:30. So, but look at all the commotion going on.
Oh yeah,
my goodness gracious! I mean,
No, it is going to be a scene. If you did not hear, and presumably most of you have by now, but Donald Trump is not coming on Saturday, and I think that is a relief to many, taking the politics out of it, just the logistics.
Yeah, the logistics is what it
kickoff was going to make that already challenging situation that much more.
At his speech last week?
I was not.
Okay.
We had...
I had that party Saturday.
Yep.
So it was in the Letterman's Club.
Yep.
So that overlooks the 31 parking lot and Medler Field. And I'm telling you, I saw a 100-car convoy leaving that speech.
Yeah.
I don't know what time it was, but they were going up past the Spike Stadium, going to the airport. And I'm just sitting there. How are you going to do that at 10:45 in the morning for a noon game when we already have so many problems with logistics and parking and getting people here and there? And they were going to add that extra. Hey, we're going to shut roads down for a half hour, by the way.
Yeah, listen, even without
Craziness.
this is going to be you are going to want to try to get up there early on Saturday for sure. And probably want to get to the gates if you're planning on watching the kickoff about as early as you can to give yourself some assurance. It is it's going to be a scene. There's no question about that. And with the noon kickoff, I mean, one of the reasons fans don't like it is you just have such a mass of people trying to come in that same window, basically 2-hour window, 8 to 10 is
if you have a 3:30 game, I'm getting there at 8 o'clock. You know, the early crew will get there at 8.
Yeah.
Then it'll be 9, 10, 11, 12,
and
1.
It just filters
this is, you got to get there at 7, 8, 9, and then otherwise you're sitting in traffic, and it's a lot of people. But I have to ask you a straight up question. When was the last time you felt this much mojo, whatever, in the game? Like,
well,
I'm telling you, I went downtown. I Tuesday, I think I drove around, and I could just tell that there was it was in the air. You know, like people were just like biding their time because the big game was coming, and we were waiting for it. I don't remember. I'm thinking Michigan. That could be 2010, 2011, I think. Brady Hoke.
See, I think Ohio State 2 years ago, Michigan last year. That the juice has been pretty
I mean like the whole town is. I mean, like it's just a buzz.
If you go back,
I think
I do.
You think 2 years ago we had a shot type of thing?
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought. Yes, I do. I think a lot of people.
I don't know, man. I think we're 7-0. They're at our house. It's like, we've been waiting for this time, and now it's here. I just like when I said I came back in 2005, and that Ohio State crowd was just insane because the students were hungry, and I think that the student and the fans are hungry, and it's going to be absolute
there's
craziness in there Saturday.
Penn State fandom desperately wants a win over Ohio State, and yeah, I think there's a real feeling. Although, again, I would argue. I don't think the feeling of optimism is that unique going into this matchup with Ohio State. What I do think is different is just the makeup of the team this year for Penn State and the matchups. Again, I just don't. In years past, I thought Penn State had a real shot in these games, but admittedly, it was like, man, you feel like they need to play their best game of the season. They need to get things to break right. You tell me, Goon. I don't think Penn State needs to play a perfect game, I think they can turn the ball over and they'll be right there. Now, they can't be -3 in the turnover battle. They can't have 8 penalties for over 100 yards. But
they've gotten better by not getting penalties. By the way, go ahead.
Yeah. Much better, and especially a whole bunch. But this, what is different to me is I don't think Penn State goes into this thing. Again, you want to play clean football? Yes. You don't want to. I'm not saying you're going in trying to execute at a high level. It's just I don't have the feeling that. Man, Penn State's only chance is they have to hope Ohio State makes some mistakes and that they
we can't
capitalize
have that
on
our
everything.
Attitude is we're better than them. We're going to go out and play our game and be better than them this week.
Well, and I think physically up front, it feels like Penn State is there, or again, maybe even has the edge, and that is different. Like that has not been. The feeling going into this game as well. Yeah, up front, I think Penn State can match up or even win that battle. That I don't think we've ever had that feeling going into the game. Now, again, I am not going to be surprised if Ohio State more than holds its own at the line of scrimmage. And if Ohio State ultimately comes out of here with a win, that is not going to be a shocking result to me. But going in, I really do think Penn State matches up really well up front. And I like the coaching matchup this year because I do think Penn State can adjust to things on the fly as the game goes along. And listen, I also do think Ohio State is questioning some things right now. Ryan Day said it. He's like, yeah, Ryan Day took ownership of it, but he's like, I got to figure out what we're doing with our running game, how to be better. Like what we did against Nebraska isn't good enough, and we realize that. And Penn State obviously is going to watch that film and try to do some things that Nebraska did. You would think, okay, Ohio State now has a better feel. Let's make some adjustments. And again, as always, the chess game within the football game is always fascinating to me. I just think this year, Penn State matches up physically. I think they're close enough in overall talent. And I think from a coaching perspective, Penn State is right there and maybe even has the advantage in terms of, all right, in games, we'll make the adjustments that will allow our team to come out on top.
How I feel.
Yep.
I don't get nervous. I don't get wound up in this and that because I played in these games back in the day. And it's just like, I'm not part of it. So it's like, that's not my DNA to get jacked up like I am jacked up. And I don't know if it's because of what everything's going on around us. It's going to be pretty cool. Jason Kelsey coming around, hanging out.
Yep.
I going out with Mark Ingram tonight, some other guys and stuff. This stuff. But I'm telling you, I don't think it's an upset if we beat Ohio State Saturday. I don't think it is that big of an upset. I just think that we are at that point. And again, I will go back to we are a well-led team. And I don't think these guys are going to let the younger guys, the stars, get too big or too low, too high, too low, too big, too small. I think that these leaders are going to they're again. I go back. It's just such a different James Franklin than we've seen in the last 10 years. I just think he's cool, calm, and relaxed right now. I mean, 2 weeks ago it was the airport. Last week it was what was it last week? The walking off the stage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, it's just I just think it's a different James Franklin this year, and I just think that they're just going to let it roll and just go.
I don't think we talked about that on this show, but yeah, I do want to acknowledge that. I've done it elsewhere, but I don't think I did it on this show Tuesday. But yeah, I was critical. I didn't think I just thought it painted James Franklin in a bad light, like he did that to himself, or Penn, like he went along with it. I don't know whether, but. Sports information, whatever. But Franklin took ownership of it, said he didn't handle it well, and explained that which, again, I wish he had given that answer initially. But, man, that to me is also an indication of the growth of leadership in James Franklin, where he's like, yeah, I'm okay admitting I didn't handle that the way I should have.
Practice.
And you move on.
And the last thing whatever about was something going on where he was like, I don't want to, one is he can't talk about it. Now, you made your point very, very well last week. He should have said that, and I get it. But somebody or something was telling him, don't do this or do this. So we don't know who it was. But I really respected the way he's took ownership of it after that game the other day.
Respect for that.
And a lot of people said, okay, well, that's you know what? That's you just said the growth of James Franklin.
Yep. No, I do think that's a big deal. As I said last week, I don't think that the way he handled it was that big of a deal to begin with, but I think it is a big deal that he comes out and says, yeah, you know what, I didn't handle that well. Sorry about that.
It seems he has issues in that post-practice, because remember last year somebody not attacked him, but they were asking him about, was it the ESPN story and a guy in Long Island raping somebody? And that was a Penn State. I mean, was it that? I don't know. He had something where
not even sure.
he had a post-practice interview, and he's like, I'm worried about Rutgers. I want to talk about Rutgers. I don't want to, it was just like, and the person kept on attacking him about it, and he was just like, and he just walked away. And I forget what it was. I mean, obviously it wasn't that important, and we forget what it was, though. But, yeah, again, we're seeing the maturity of James Franklin. He's growing as we speak, but the team has grown. And, again, I'm telling you, I am not surprised if we take this game. And
yeah, I really won't be surprised either way.
We are built to match up with Ohio State. We're built. That's what we're built for. So now's the time. Have we gotten to that point to take that next step? And he said it for 10 years now. We need to be elite, need to be elite, need to be elite. So let's go. Let's go. Come on. Let's be elite now. Again, I'm juiced up for this game like I have not been for a game in a long time, man.
I can tell. Yeah, there's a bunch of things I love going into this game, not the least of which, going back to where we kind of started, is the fact that you could potentially be without 4 of your better players, 3 of the players that you were expecting to have huge leadership and impact roles in Drew Aller, Denai Dennis Sutton, and KJ Winston. And again, hopefully you have 2 of them playing and playing well. But again, even if none of them play and Donka is out, to me, it doesn't change the equation in terms of the being surprised whether they win this game ultimately on Saturday. And that in and of itself, to me, is pretty remarkable because it has not been often, if ever, during James Franklin's tenure, and really with any team, any year, where you're like, yeah, let me take 2 of your top 3 or 4 defensive players out of the equation. Let me take your star quarterback out of the equation. Let me take your starting left tackle out of the equation. Now, how are you going to match up with a team that many think is the most talented team in the country? How are you feeling about that game? It's like, yeah, I feel pretty good.
Answer now.
Feel pretty good going into it. And
that's
again,
recruiting and depth and coaching. We have that going on in spades right now. The recruiting is very well, and it's building the depth on the team. Again, you just mentioned we have 3 starters, great starters, big-time starters out possibly, and we're all still pretty cool with it because we know we have backups in there, next man up mentality.
One of the other things, going back to the chess match part of it, I am really curious to see is what Ohio State does early in its approach offensively. Do they try to establish that running game and say, yep, last week was an anomaly and we're coming in here after the week of Ryan Day telling us we have to run we're going to establish this and we're going to show Penn State, like Michigan did last year here, even in your stadium, we are a physically superior team and man, we're going to establish that? Or do they come out and say, you know what, we're going to use the pass to set up the run. Here's our quarterback overlooked by you. We're going to let him make a statement. I am curious to see, in particular, offensively, what the Ohio State approach is early in this game. What it is, maybe it's just a mix, and most teams want to have that balance. But I'm interested to see if they come out and just, we're going to pound the ball and see if you guys can stop us. And if that is the approach, obviously you're hoping Penn State says, nope, we saw what Nebraska did and you're not getting 3 yards to carry against this defense today. I don't know. And I could make that argument either way. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Ohio State does and how they approach it early. And then as always, what adjustments both teams make as the game goes along and what they see or think they see with the opposing defenses and how everything gets schemed up. I think it's a fascinating game. I think it's a different feel going into it too, Goon, at least to me. And I don't know that there are many people looking at it this way. I really don't think, for as much pressure as I do think is there for Ryan Day and Ohio State because of the fan expectations and perceptions. Again, at the end of the day, the loser of this game, so long as it's a relatively close game, 2 touchdowns or less, the loser of this game, the can still go on and win the national title. So it's hard to say that it's going to feel hugely consequential in the moment. Like Saturday night, if you're a Penn State fan and Penn State loses this, like you are going to be grumbling and here we go again. And okay, but if they turn around and win the national title, you're like, yeah, it would have been nice to have that, but so what? And same thing with Ohio State. Ultimately, if they get it together, if they lose this game and they get it together and go on a run in the postseason and win the national title, yeah, man, I wish we had wanted Oregon and Penn State, but so what at the end of the day? So it's a huge game. It's going to feel consequential in the moment. And then at the end of the day, both these teams will go about their business the rest of the year with still a chance to achieve all of their goals set back at the start of the season. And
play the game,
that's
stay
just
healthy.
A different feel to a game late in the season in college football than we've had maybe ever.
This is the new normal.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to deal with going forward. And I'm cool with it.
But I
The only
think,
thing who ever won an undefeated NFL football team.
but I think from Penn State's perspective, they really can go in playing loose.
Yes.
For all of those
And
reasons.
I think that's what James is telling these guys. I hope he would be
the case, and I think they will. I think
not saying, "Oh, we can lose and we're fine." No, you never want to have that. Just like go out there, roll it out there, put your helmet out there. Let's play, boys. Like play your game. We match up well. We can beat these guys.
Yeah, it really is just the difference between guys. What an opportunity here. We have the chance to be the first Penn State team in 8 years to knock off Ohio State. We get to be that team. Let's go seize that opportunity versus, oh, guys, man, we got to find a way to win. Ohio State's like it's the same thing, but it's completely different with that approach. And I just think the approach is, man, what an opportunity. What a gift we have here that's being handed us. Let's go out and make the most of it. And again, just go out. I really do think one of the things that is going to be different, and we've talked about this, Goon, after the losses the last couple of years, is it felt like Penn State played it close to the vest. Like, man, we're not going to make a mistake. Drew Aller, just don't throw an interception. We'll be, instead of, man, go make a play.
And don't make Drew throw the ball 49 times again.
Well, that too.
That hurt.
Let's go, just go play the game. Go try to create a chance for yourself to make a play on the big stage. And again, worst case scenario, you don't, and we go back to work next week.
Yes. So last week you were spot on with that Nebraska game, Ohio State being a huge trap game for Ohio State. People are complaining and worried about Wisconsin being a trap game for us. That was a trap game for Ohio State last week versus Nebraska. So they're lucky to get out of it. But this week, Michigan plus 15 home against Oregon.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this. I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to say anything. But I'm going to tell you that the Big Ten will not allow Oregon, a first-year football team, to come into the Big House and embarrass Michigan at Michigan. It's just not going to happen. Trust me, I've lived it. We've gone through this. They're not going to allow that, and I don't know what's going to go different. I mean, there's some other guys and players on the field who can make a call here and there. I don't know. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying I can't see Michigan losing by 15-plus points. I just don't think the Big Ten would want it to happen. They're too proud of the program, but I just don't.
That was a great touchdown play by the Ducks, but
I just don't. Yeah, exactly.
We
we got a hold on the Conlin kid. Yep. It's 21-0. No, it's not. It's only 16-0. So, yes. So I definitely foresee Michigan covering the 15 points. I don't know about winning the game, but you may want to tickle the money line a little bit with a couple 20s maybe here and there. But I'm saying take Michigan. The only problem is that their offense is so bad. I don't know if they can be
their
able to
defense
score.
Is really good.
Yes.
But as we've talked about many times,
they don't have an offense.
The game is skewed to favor the offense, and Oregon has a very good offense. Well, I do think Michigan, has a great
defense.
But
Oregon got beat up pretty good against the Ducks, against Illinois last week. So I'm saying take the 15.5 Michigan. The over-under is 45, so you figure if Michigan can score 16 points and you take the over and you parlay it, you can't lose. Well, you take it. It's called a chop.
There you go. That's
the chop. So you deduct and then you add in the favor. Then you got to say the referee aspect of the whole situation.
All right.
It's in Ann Arbor. Yes.
What is your prediction for Penn State, Ohio?
Penn State wins late on a field goal. Place goes absolutely crazy. The cardiac kids continue again, is what I said. I believe it was 24-21.
Oh, man, we are right in the same. So I have a 27-24 Penn State.
There we go.
And much the same scenario. I do think this game comes right down to the final couple of minutes. I just think this is the year that Penn State makes the plays in the clutch to pull out the win.
We're going to play relaxed, have fun, roll it out there, and get it done, baby.
And the Steelers won't lose this weekend, so we got that going for us for sure as well. We will be back on Tuesday to talk about it all. Folks, enjoy the weekend. Until next we meet, be good and be safe.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, once again, your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America. 98.7, the Fox State College, the Goon